Good morning, and welcome back to another one of our ACT weekly webinars. My name is Stephen Bolden, and today's topic is going to focus on ACT integration with QuoteWerks. QuoteWerks is a standalone and separate application that we are vendors for, and we like it a lot. It's probably the most powerful quote building tool out there that I've ever seen, and I could certainly spend I could probably have my own weekly webinar series focused on QuoteWerks alone, just like ACT. There's about 10,000 things you can do in this application, but I'll try to highlight some of the really key features that most people are interested in when they're looking at a quoting tool. Everything about QuoteWerks is tightly integrated with ACT so that you don't ever have to maintain two databases of contacts, and that you have as minimal work as possible required when writing a quote to a contact or sending them as invoices and creating them as sales opportunities in ACT. All of these things are integrated. I sometimes ask people, if I were to ask 5 or 10 different salespeople from your company for a quote, would I get an identical quote every single time? And I often see a lot of business owners shake their heads, and that's kind of where QuoteWerks comes into play here. Within the QuoteWerks application, if I make a new quote, it really takes you to the document line items screen, and everything that I'm going to show you today is really strongly customizable. You start off when you first set up your QuoteWerks database. This is a sample demo database that I have here, full of demo data. But if I look under products, before I go into building a quote, generally you would preload a bunch of products into your quoting list. You break them out by manufacturers. You can give them part numbers, internal part numbers. You have costs, that's your cost to purchase, sales price, list prices, vendor part numbers, and you can have all sorts of custom fields that go along with here as well. You're not limited to just these ones, but you have units, unit size, freight and shipping cost. QuoteWerks will take all of this stuff into account for you. For those of you that might be in more service-based businesses, kind of like mine in a way, we sell both software licenses, but we also do support and training time. We usually have line items. You add a product for your own business, and you'll call it, your company service charge, and that is considered a product or service that you add into the quote. So you preload your database with your products first, and then when you want to build a quote to a contact, you simply open up a new quote, and you can add part numbers. You can start by typing into these boxes and performing searches. You could also open up your product menu here and find a quote. So I'll just pick one here, outdoor speakers, sure. Double click on them, add a quantity to the quote, and I can go ahead and add that product. And demo version is still just asking me to auto save some things. And I can be done. I can add more products. I can go in here and continue to add more and more items. For each line item, you can also right click on them, do different % discounts or % upcharges. You can add comments and line items that will go underneath there, and I'll show you how these quotes look after we build them. So let's go ahead and just add a couple of more line items on there, and then we'll move on. So once you've got some items on there, then on the next tab, you fill out this sold to and shipped to data, and this is a really handy part of where it integrates with ACT, is that using this handy little retrieve current contact button shown right here, it will pull whatever current ACT record I have up on my screen. So if I go and put in Dorothy Gale from Rainbow Dreams Inc. Again, this is my ACT demo database, so don't even bother calling after Dorothy here. But if I go ahead and then choose this retrieve current contact, then sure enough, the information pulls right in from the ACT record. And I'll pull that in for not only the sold to, but the ship to and the bill to fields as well. QuoteWerks has a lot of other optional fields where you can add more sale info, such as the sales rep, terms, contract start date and end date, notes that will be shown on the template when I generate the quote into a file to deliver to the customer. You can have introductory paragraphs and terms and conditions, some other custom fields that we can make, and some other linked resources. I apologize for kind of zipping through a lot of these features, but there's many things that I don't even have the time to get into today, like the web connector, ways to pull pricing info from the internet. There's ways with QuoteWerks where you can have these quotes published to a web URL that the other user can see the quote in real time, and they can update and approve various line items or even pay for the whole thing. There's many different aspects we can go into this. But once I've got my information like the document line items filled out, if I want to add in any type of comments or something here, maybe I want to add a discount off of this line, they get 10% off for this. Then I want to go ahead and deliver this and save this quote up. I press the deliver button. And before I go to publish it, I select a layout for the quote. They have some sample layouts here, but I'll show you with the layout editor, if I wanted to edit this one. What we would do is when you first set up QuoteWerks, preferably hiring us to install it for you, I can build you a custom quote template. Here's one of their default ones, and of course you would put in your own company logos and fonts and styling as you see fit. They have all sorts of other sample ones in here. Some of them are much more flashy and some of them are much more basic. Here's one that's got all sorts of graphics and colors on it. Certainly looks nice, but maybe not the most printer friendly. But we pick one that we like, that we want for the main quote template. You also can add in cover pages so that if you have a standard cover page that you want to have on shown at the front of every quote, I can add those into here. I can also add additional literature so that if you have service manuals and product documentation that you commonly send out, maybe terms of service and agreements or disclaimers and warranties, you can auto attach literature into there by checking off these boxes. Additionally, I didn't show you this, but under the products database, every one of these products that you add can have other fields, including literature for each product. So if you had an instruction manual for this TV, for example, in this sample database, and then you included that along into the products database, then it could automatically be attached into here every time you add it to the order, so that you don't even need to remember to do the literature page. Also, we have spec sheets and links, so more documents that you can attach to the quote. Once you've attached all of your different components that you like to have built into here, you can send it to the printer, or you can send it to an email, or you can save it as a PDF, and it will compile all of these into a PDF for you into one document. Same thing as with an email. If I do click to email this quote, then I'm going to get my, well, normally it would actually bring up a Outlook, but I just have this demo database is configured to use the QuoteWerks email editor, but this works just as well. It's got, it's going to email to the contact here, but we'll see some information under logging the sent email within ACT, and we can log it right underneath the contact as an attachment. When I go to send it out, it's telling me my email is not configured, but let's head on back here. We will do save. I could send it out to that contact, and then later when I want to send the quote, if I save it, you can give it an auto number. You choose your naming conventions for how you want your invoices to be auto numbered. Statuses and project numbers, but then we have ACT contact integration below, where I can have this automatically create an opportunity for me. So for those of you using opportunities in ACT, this is a really great way to make sure that every single item that you quote creates an opportunity. Generally speaking, that's my criteria for when you should create an opportunity. I say that if something is quotable, that's when an opportunity can be made in ACT. QuoteWerks makes that easy to stay consistent with. You could also add items to your calendar with meetings, to-dos, or calls. You can add an activity with using these various checkboxes here if you want to schedule something on your calendar. I'll go ahead and save this up just to show how that works. So it's saved the quote, and now it's going to ask me to create the ACT sales opportunity by selecting a process and a stage and a probability. I can certainly choose these based on my ACT fields here, and I'll go ahead and just fill that in and say okay. And if we head back over into ACT and check it out, into opportunities, and I want to sort the date, let's do today. There we go. We have an open opportunity with Dorothy Gale. And as I open this up and check it out, I can see products and services that are added there, line item by line item, based on my quote that I've built. I have my total values, my weighted values, contacts associated with it, and now I can make sure to stay on top of this opportunity and progress it along. Under the Documents tab, we do have an option. Did I not save it up here? under the Documents tab, normally we would have the quote saved underneath the document here. It would have a copy as well. Missing at the moment. I think I might have to set another permissions issue there for it to be able to access the quotes folder into ACT. Small mistake, but it is handy to have, and it is attached into your ACT database. And then, yeah, so it really makes some beautiful looking quotes. If I go ahead and preview what this quote would look like, for example, with these different templates, then here's like a preview. It includes this cover page that I chose. It's got a photo on there that's not a photo of me. I probably should know who that is, a sample contact photo or something. As we scroll down to the last pages, I know it was right here. Here's like a sample of the quote page, and it's got the line items shown there, along with totals. You can have extra line items for freight and shipping, and deliver that off to the customer. So all around, QuoteWerks is a very powerful quoting tool, but it also just makes it very useful for being able to copy and send the contact info from ACT and attach them back into the ACT database. There's all sorts of reports we can pull out of QuoteWerks. If I look under the dashboard, you'll be able to see upcoming quotes, expiring quotes. We can customize all of these different reports to show numbers of quotes sent by different salespeople and their statuses within the pipeline. We have products, but we also have bundles where you can select different products and automatically configure them to get certain percentages off based on having bundles. The reports really can go into a lot of details, including, we have some things here, a product catalog you can print out if you wanted to customize and then make if you had a standard layout of how you wanted to display a product catalog, then it could be dynamic so that as people are adding and removing and deleting and changing products over time, then you could always reprint a new product catalog easily, as well as some other different products and services reports. And yeah, I believe our quote valet, if we wanted to show that, I don't have that set up, so unfortunately I cannot. But that's the one where I showed you that it can publish to a website so that you don't even have to deliver your customer a PDF of a quote anymore. You can deliver them a URL, and they open up the hyperlink, and they'll see a digital copy of the quote, but it's modular, where they can change their own quantities, negotiate prices, and then accept the price and send them back to you. You get email alerts about what kind of modifications the customer made to their liking. I'll open up the mics if there's any other questions. I hope that's informative for some of you, and I want to know what you think about how QuoteWerks could maybe work for you.
Hey, Steven, it's John.
Hello, John.
Hi. Well, QuoteWerks tell you if you have Quote Valet create a web page, will QuoteWorks tell you if the customer goes to that site?
Yes, it has reporting on how many times the link was clicked. You can even have the pages password protected if you wanted to make sure that only the customer that it was intended for can view it. And usually using that kind of authentication page to password protect it, you can have it require a name so that you can know exactly who viewed the link. So you can get analytics to see how many times it was linked and viewed. And your Quote Valet pages can also have, if they accept the quote, that you can include like signature fields in there as well, or digital signatures, that if you want the person to actually have some type of binding agreement when they view it and accept it, you can include those as well. So there's a few ways to be able to track on that.
Can you have the quotes set out? Can you have the quotes set out by Active Marketing?
I'd say that's a good question. I think in practice, there wouldn't be a lot of use cases where you want to do that. Because then if you sent out the quote by Active Marketing, I guess there's a few ways you could do it. If you had it published through Quote Valet, then you could then take that link and send it to Active Marketing. The problem is just that you might have 100 or 1,000 people receive that same Quote Valet link, they can't all accept it and they can't all make their own modifications to it. They'd all really need their own unique Quote Valet page in order to be able to do something like that. The other way you could do it, I suppose, is if you made a quote and just saved it as a PDF and then sent that out through e-marketing and had it as an attachment or as a link within each email blast. That could certainly work, but then you're relying on the person to reply to you. I generally think in practice, quoting is a more personalized touch. If I were to run an e-marketing campaign like this, I would just showcase some of the products and the pricing and promotions on there and have the call to action be for the recipient to request a quote. And then once they do that, then you just manually generate them one to their liking and a bit more personalized.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, some other Quote Valet features that they have listed on the website, knowing when quotes are viewed and accepted every time they view it, select options, they can approve it, you can collect credit card payments, you can even have a shopping cart. There are some integrations with Quote Valet that you can do with your website that we have set up before. If you ever were to do some types of e-commerce, you can actually tie that in with QuoteWerks and make sure that pricing on your website is integrated. And then certainly everybody's always interested in what QuoteWerks pricing costs and how much this is as a product. So you're generally looking somewhere between $238 up to $500, depending on which edition that you need. Yeah, so I'd say that if you're looking for, we usually use this standard or professional in most instances, and that will do you well. But QuoteWerks is licensed on a per user basis, not per computer. So some companies do get by sharing a user, so that if it's okay for all quotes and all reporting to come from one salesperson, then some people do buy just one license to be shared. Other companies, if they want it all to be personalized and categorized about who's doing the quoting, it's really just best and pays for itself to get all their own licenses. Sorry, I'm going to mute the lines here, just getting a bit of reverb, but I hope that's informative. Like I said, if you really want more info on QuoteWerks, I'm happy to give you a more in-depth demo. They have free demos and pricing on their website. You can do a free trial. You can get the same demo database that I'm working out of if you want to play with it yourself. You can run the full program for 30 days without a license key. We are resellers, and so I do request that if you do want to go the route of getting a demo or maybe to purchase, to please go through us, because it will help get us credit for the sale. And also I'll be able to help your questions a bit more thoroughly that way too. And there are QuoteWerks support plans included. You can get support either through us, or you can buy the support plan bundled in with your with the pricing. And yes, I hope that that's useful for you today. It's certainly much more powerful than the ACT quote builder. You'll start to see people actually using the opportunities section of ACT, where you'll see all of the different quotes that you've built have been created within there. And it's certainly nice to see. Thank you, everybody, for your time today. I will see you next week. I don't know if I actually have a topic already planned for next week, so hopefully one of you will be able to send me another topic and keep the ball rolling. Otherwise, I may start back over with some basic ACT usage. Thank you all and have a great day. Goodbye.